we're gonna get into some things. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Tahari Talks. In this episode, we'll be breaking down what is your identity wrapped up in. I'll be doing so through my story of how I went from boss babe to a stay-at-home mom and what that transition was like as far as my mental well-being went. First of all, before we get into today's talk, I just need to say thank you for all the positive feedback on the first episode of Tahari Talks and on the series as a whole. Y'all really showed up for me. Y'all really showed up in the comments. Y'all showed up in text messages, in the DMs, and in the views, everything. And just let me know that it was needed, that you felt heard, that you felt seen, that it resonated with you, that it made sense. All the feedback was just so positive. It was confirmation that where Tahari Talks is going is necessary and we are on the right track here. I'm forever grateful for this community. If I never get another viewer or subscriber into the Tahari Talk series or on the Third Life even, I know that what has already been established is effective, is needed, and it is of value. And I'm forever grateful for y'all. So I just had to start off with that. Just to reiterate, my hope when you listen to Tahari Talks is that you in these videos feeling seen, validated, heard, that you in these talks feeling inspired, that you in these talks feeling like you're not alone, that you in these talks feeling like, dang, it's not just me. Dang, somebody else is understanding how I'm feeling. She's going through what I'm going through. She went through something similar. She speaks to what I'm going through. Somebody is praying for me, somebody is rooting for me, and somebody wants to see me come out on the other side, because I wish all of those things for you and for anyone else who is watching this series. Now, let's get into today's topic. I asked for feedback as far as what you all wanted to see as far as this series went, and one of the commenters spoke to something that I had in the vault, which is the transformation that I underwent going from boss babe to stay-at-home mom, and how I maneuvered through that transition, as well as how I'm still maneuvering through it. When I tell these stories about what I'm going through, it's not 20-30 minutes of you just sitting and listening to me talk about myself. I talk about these things so that you can identify elements of my story in yours, and so that you're asking yourself certain questions. Like somebody watched the video last time and they said that it had them ask themselves, am I okay? And those are the things that I want you to do. Check in with yourself and make sure you're good. So don't think that I'm telling this story just to sit and just talk about myself and wade in my BS, for lack of a better term, but it's to help me help you. So I'm gonna just give y'all a little bit of background. Before I even got pregnant with Eli, I vividly remember one day me and Nate were sitting in our garage cleaning it out or something. We were just in the garage, and he said to me, what do you think about being a stay-at-home mom? Or I want you to be a stay-at-home mom, or something along the lines of you not being in the salon, you no longer doing hair, and you being a stay-at-home mom. And y'all, I remember I cried down. I was kicking, crying, screaming, not literally but figuratively and emotionally. I threw a whole adult tantrum, because me was like, how can he not see that being a boss and being an entrepreneur and being in my element and being in my business and running my business is what I'm made to do? I could never just sit at home. I could never just be at home raising children. It could never be me. What century does this man think we're living in? This is not the 60s where women stay at home and the men go out and get all the get to and bring it back home. This man got me messed up. But I had to keep living, first of all, because one thing about it, if you know Nate, you know that man is a whole prophet. He was speaking to where my mindset would be. He was just way ahead of the game. And I wasn't able to see that for what it was in the moment, because I just felt like he was trying to tell me to sit down, slow down, and raise these kids. Well, we only had one at the time. I say that to say I was not at all on board with being a stay-at-home mom when things first transpired. But I got pregnant with Eli and my entire world started to shift. And it was never that I wanted to be home and draw back completely from entrepreneurship, but I wanted to be at home and make my money from home as well. I had things going on, but I had kind of stepped back from YouTube. Hair was my main get to. I had Love Letter going, but my main source of income was doing hair. So my prayer life became, God, I want to step back, but I don't know what that is going to look like. I don't know what that's going to feel like. I don't know what that is going to look like in my bank account. So help me maneuver through this process. And God has a funny way of doing things, because you can pray very specific prayers, but it doesn't mean that the way that you pray it is how it's going to look and how it's going to manifest, because God's going to do what God wants to do when it's all said and done. And I know now that God does things with strategy, because if we see into the future of how he'll do things, we'll back out right then and there. I would have stayed comfortable if I knew it would look like this, or how it looked, how it felt. I would have just been like, you know what, actually I'm good, I'll just stay in what I'm in. But it wasn't meant for me to stay where I was. So like I said, I got pregnant, my body's hurting more doing hair. I feel like I'm being called to greater, being called to use my gifts in different ways, being called to use different gifts in different ways. But I just didn't know how I was going to do it. But I did know that if I did not take the opportunity of having my son in order to step away from behind the chair, then it would never happen. So I'm like, all right, God, I'm going to take this leap of faith. I kept getting signs, like, and y'all know, like I said last time, God is always in a place of, do you trust me kind of, or do you trust me fully? And it was one of those, what's up? Like me and God having a whole standoff, what's up? Do you trust me or not? Because if so, then it's not going to look what you thought it would look like, but you're going to step away because that's what I told you to do. I was getting signs on signs. Y'all know the whole password with God thing. If you keep up with me on TikTok, I just kept saying, God, if it's meant for me to step from behind a chair, show me. And he was showing me like back to back to back. Cool. It was not an easy decision to make, but I made it because I knew it was necessary. And I knew that if I went back to doing hair, then that would be me walking in disobedience. And like I said in the last video, when you do things your own way, you're going to stumble. Because one thing about when God's hand is on you, I also do want to pause here and say these talks are going to be about mental health and well-being, but they're always going to have a spiritual tie because, like I said last time, everything is spiritual. And the same way God don't play about me, I don't play about God. I'm very, how can I say this? I'm down to earth. I cuss a little bit. I'm working on it. A lot of it sometimes. But one thing about it, I don't play about God. And I know that God is paving this entire walk. So everything is going to circle back to God always. If you don't like that, then Tahari Talks ain't for you. All right, resume. The thing about God's hand being on you and about you being God chosen, it doesn't matter how far you run. It doesn't matter how long you run. It doesn't matter where you run. God is going to do whatever to make sure that he has your attention and that he pulls you back to him, because his hand never leaves you. We draw away from him. I was just having a conversation with a friend from church and she was saying the same thing. Like, God never left me. I strayed away from him. But when his hand is on you and when he wants you to do something and when you're called, he's going to go through every extreme to make sure that you do that and that you circle back to him. And those extremes are not pretty because God has to do things in a way that you can know that it was only him. And it's undeniable when those things happen. So I leave from behind the chair. And every time I say boss babe, I do air quotes because the whole idea of a boss babe is kind of a controversial topic, subject, connotation on the whole word boss babe. But like, let's talk about it. I was in a career where I was running my entire business. I was in high demand. I was getting booked in volume. I didn't have to worry about where my next was coming from. I was blessed enough that clientele, once I built it, it was there. And my business was so blessed. And that was part of the reason why it was just like, God, you want me to walk away from this after I built it right here? Like, just leave, walk away? And he was like, yeah, that's what I said, right? And one thing about God, when he says what he says, there's no second guessing it. He's standing on it tenfold, flat-footed. What's up? Those first few months of me not being in the salon were I feel like my head got knocked off the swivel. It was like God was stripping me in order to build me. God did strip me in order to build me back up. He isolated me in order for me to hear from him so that he could build me back up. But it took me to a dark place because I did not realize how doing hair and being that boss and being booked and always having somewhere to be and somebody expecting me to be there at an appointed time, how that shaped my identity. That's who I was. That's who I became. It was so full. But now nobody's expecting me to be anywhere. I just got to be home, take care of these kids, and build these brands virtually. I'm probably covered in kid bodily fluids throughout the day. Like I said, nobody's expecting me to be anywhere except maybe grocery pickup. In the first few weeks, it was sweet. It was nice. Like, oh, I don't have to run to shop. But then eventually it's like, well, dang, like, what does that look like? What does that mean for who I am and who I see myself as? And the negative talk got nasty. So just to let y'all in my mind real quick, excuse my language, but I used to say things to myself like, I have this mug and it says mom, wife, boss. I wouldn't drink out of it when things first started because I'm like, girl, you're not even no boss. You honestly ain't for real. Like, career wise, you ain't. You're at this big age of 30 plus. You're rebranding yet again, starting from scratch. What are you doing with your entire life? Those are the things that I would constantly ask myself. The success of my business and the pull and need for the services that I was providing was more of my identity than I cared to admit and that I even realized. And then you throw in the whirlwind of trying to rebuild your identity and rebuild yourself and rediscover who you are after having a baby. Baby, what that man said, I'm done.
I'm done. Cut the show.
So during this time, it required a lot of isolation and prayer, asking God, okay, I know that you did not call me here just to leave me. So what now? Like, yes, I'm supposed to raise my babies. Yes, I asked to raise my babies. But what does it look like as far as who I am and what I'm being called to do? Because I don't believe that I was only called to motherhood. I am more than a mom. I've always been more than a mom. And I know that when these kids get older and leave, I need to have something that is sustaining so that I have more identity to Briana than Alani and Elias's mom. And God's response to me was, I was like, God, just show me the blueprint. Those are my literal words. And he's like, do my will. Speak what I'm telling you to speak. Use what I've already laid out for you. You have a whole platform. You've always said that you would use your degree, and if you did, it wouldn't be in a traditional way. I laid it out for you, girl. All you gotta do is hit record and plan a little bit and do what you need to do. It's right there. And it literally clicked. Every month on my calendar, I write a declaration for the month. So like for the first few months, for the first 6 months, shoot, maybe up until last month, I was in this space of, all right, it's up. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. All right, then I'm back down. Now I'm in my head again. Then it's up again. Then it's down again. And I'm currently in the process of reading this book called The Secret. And when I say it is changing my mindset, and so many people have said that this book has changed their life. I'm going to do a Tahari Talks on that book specifically. But so many people have said that this book has changed their life. And it's literally about your mindset and how your mindset shapes your life. So last month, my declaration for the month was October will be the month that sees our planet. I knew that it wasn't time for harvest season, but I knew that I was doing things and putting things in line so that I would reap the harvest eventually. November comes, I write my calendar out. I say November will be the month that it all starts to make sense. And literally on November 3rd, I'm driving. I had the conversation with God about what he want me to do, give me the blueprint. He downloads it, involve Tahari Talks, involve Thread Talks. The confirmation is given when I put this out, and it's just like, oh, okay. Had my schedule not been cleared, had my mind not been cleared, had my plate not been cleared, I would have never taken a step back and be like, all right, God, what do you want me to do next? What is needed? I never would have asked that question. I would have been too busy chasing the bookings and chasing the schedule and doing what my calendar was telling me to do instead of what God was telling me to do. And I would still be chasing purpose that had an expiration date on it that had already come and passed. And it's so crazy, and God is so intentional, because I remember when hair took the cake, when hair was at the forefront, the room that I'm sitting in filming this video right now, we would always say the filming room, the filming room. And I remember thinking to myself, we're still calling it the filming room. I haven't filmed a video in 6 months. I don't even use that room no more. When we vlog, I'm not in there. Like, filming room, what? Like, why are we even, it's just another room. But me and Lonnie and Nate still, the filming room, the filming room, the filming room. And that goes to show the power of the tongue. Because just as sure as we was calling it then when no cameras was rolling in this room, now I sit here in front of y'all talking and walking in purpose, because this is indeed where my current November 2023, until God says otherwise, purpose is being fulfilled, in the filming room, talking to y'all. And it just went to show that even in the moments where I was lost, even in the moments where I had questions, they were all, everything was being used to produce my next, to produce the fruit that would be needed for my next. And I think a lot of times we find ourselves in situations and in periods of time where we feel like it's just being wasted. Like, nothing is coming from this. Like, I remember saying to myself, none of this is working. What am I even doing? I just need to go back to what I know. I just need to go back and do what I usually do. But it's like, no, that's not what you pray for. And you're not driving. You're not the pilot here. If you would just sit back, chill, relax, then you would see exactly what's going on here. And God had to show me that if I called you to be an entrepreneur, you're going to be that no matter what you're doing to fulfill the role. If I called you to be a boss, you're going to be a boss. Whether you're the boss of your home, boss of your business, boss of your hair business, boss of your hair care business, boss of your channel, you're going to be just that. Pick that mug up. Pick your face up. Pick your lip up. Stop walking around frowning. It's going to be all right. You pray for this, right? So I'm going to fulfill. Just let me do my thing. Let God work. It's like we constantly going back and opening the oven, trying to see how the cooking is going. Let that man chef it up in peace. Let him do what he's going to do. Get out the kitchen, please. And it just goes to show that God is going to use everything. Everything. The stuff that you think is so bad that it cannot be used, that's going to be used too. The stuff that you don't want to talk about, eventually, some way, somewhere, somehow, that's going to be used too. Because it's all effective and it's all intentional. And it's all shaping your future and your walk and your purpose. And it's like when I film these videos, after I film the first Tahari Talks, I'm walking on clouds, because that's where my purpose is. And whenever you're doing something in purpose, you'll know, because you'll feel it in your body, you'll feel it in your bones. It won't feel like work. It'll feel good to you. It'll feel right to you. When I first became a stay-at-home mom, I thought that I would have things easier, like easier than having to be in a shop. Baby, that was 100% wrong. When I say I give it up to the women who raise children from babies to 18, sent them off to college, and they were stay-at-home moms the entire time, it is not an easy feat. You're always doing something. There's no lunch break. You're not getting paid by the hour or on salary. You're constantly going and doing. And I made it worse for myself because I kept saying a stay-at-home mom should, a stay-at-home mom does, a stay-at-home mom's house should be clean all the time, a stay-at-home mom should be cooking every day, a stay-at-home mom shouldn't have laundry piling up because she's staying on top of it. And I was putting all this pressure on myself that nobody, like Nate wasn't putting that pressure on me. I was doing it to myself. My kids wasn't putting that pressure on me. I was doing it to myself. And I had to step back and remember, not only was I new at this, but that it was going to look a little different, because in the midst of me raising these children and trying to take care of this house, I'm also trying to build multiple businesses. Even the moms who are staying at home and have a full plate just from staying at home, no two walks are going to look the same. And it goes back to what I was saying last video about giving yourself that grace to figure it out as you go, because you're not just going to walk into a new season after transition and be like, oh, yep, I know exactly what to do. God sent me here, so I know exactly what to do. God sent me here, so it's going to be easy. It's not going to be easy just because he told you to do it. Having him with you along the way is going to give you peace and ease in it. But that doesn't mean that the road itself is going to be easy, because it was not, and it still is not. But I'm figuring it out along the way and just giving myself that room to figure it out, knowing that eventually I will. And figuring it out does not mean perfection. Figuring it out means I'm happy, my family is happy, things are getting done, we're well, we're grateful, we're recognizing the answered prayers that we're constantly living in. We're not stuck, stagnant, or content, but we're grateful. So all of that leads me to ask you to ask yourself, what holds your identity? What is your identity clinging to? Is your identity clinging to a title, a position, a job, a relationship, a person, a possession? And if it is, what would life look like? What would you look like? What would your well-being look like if that thing, that person, whatever that it is, was stripped away from you tomorrow? Because let's be honest, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you work for a company, whether you're married, whether you're dating, anything in the human experience can be taken from us just as quick as it's given. And if our identity is not wrapped up in whose we are, and our joy and our confidence isn't coming from within, you'll find yourself emptied when that thing leaves. You have to build yourself up in ways and to a point where no matter what the circumstance is, no matter what life looks like, no matter who or what leaves, no matter what's removed, who's removed, who I am, removed of the titles I have, the work that I do, what I have to offer other people to benefit other people is enough. I'm just enough. Me showing up is enough. Me in these raggedy clothes is enough. Me without the designer is enough. Me where my bank account is right now is enough. Me in the city that I live in right now, even though it's not where I want to be always, it's enough. Me single is enough. Me married is enough. Whatever that looks like, it's not in nothing else. It's in you. And so now I can sit in a place of gratitude for the process, because as y'all know, I've rebuilt myself plenty of times after having 2 children, after going to school for one thing and then taking a different route, after leaving my business where it was doing great. Like rebuilding from the ground up, I'm no stranger to it. And I know that life will have us in seasons and in waves where we constantly have to do that. So I just want to urge y'all to self-assess regularly and ask yourself, all right, identity wise, where we at? How's it looking? What we tied to? Where do we need to do inventory? Where do we need to do some cleaning up to make sure that we going to be all right no matter what? I feel like I set a precedence for Tahari Talks as far as closing out with a prayer, because I strongly believe that we all need prayer. So I want to pray for y'all yet again. I guess that's what we doing. Tahari Talks, we talk about some things, we get into some things, and then I pray. Y'all know the drill. Don't be looking at this screen. Bow your head, close your eyes. God, I thank you for every single person that has taken the time to watch this video. Thank you for hearing their hearts. Thank you for hearing their minds. Thank you for hearing their need. God, I specifically pray for anybody who is in the midst of a transition, who is in a new role, who is in a new position, who is finding themselves empty, who is finding themselves lonely, who is finding themselves in isolation so that they can hear from you. Give them strategy, God. Give them strategy in navigating this new season, this new time, this new position, whatever that it may be. God, give them strategy and clarity. God, give them peace. Give them tools to build themselves up, whether that looks like prayer, whether that looks like podcasts, whether that looks like books. Guide them to what those things may be so that they can rebuild in you. God, give them the reassurance that the only identity necessary is that they are yours. Their belonging to you is the only identity that matters when it's all said and done. And that they should constantly seek your face so that they can know where their next is. Thank you for their life. Thank you for their purpose. Thank you for what you are about to unleash in the earth through them. You are so good. You are so kind. You are so merciful. And we forever give your name praise, glory, honor, forever and ever. Amen. I really do hope that this episode of Tahari Talks was helpful. If so, let me know in the comments. I have a few more ideas in the vault that I do want to talk about for the next few episodes, but like y'all know, I'm always open to hearing what you all have to say about that. Send this to somebody who you know can use it, who may be going through a similar transition. Transitions look different, but we all take the same lessons some way, somehow. It will not be long until you see another Tahari Talks. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Later.